Welcome back to Car Coach Reports. This is episode 3 of the podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Lauren. And today's subject is President Trump could push to eliminate the restrictions on self-driving cars, and he's going to fast track it, so he says. So we want to discuss everything that's going to impact everybody, because I think it's more than just saying, go ahead and make these things. There's already robotaxis. There's a lot of things that aren't being considered. There's a lot of things that may not be what they appear to be.
Yeah, autonomous driving technology has come a long way.
Yeah,
and we've been seeing this for years and years. And
since 2007 is the first time I was
that. They were like, it's amazing. The cars are going to drive you everywhere. You won't even have to do anything. You can be in the back reading a book.
Or sleeping.
Or texting on your phone. And
yeah, right. That's a bad habit to start. It's like not riding a bike and then getting on a bike and falling off.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been watching the evolution of all this, and extreme lack of regulations, and only a small number of places where you can actually test your autonomous vehicles. But now we're seeing Trump's advisors telling him, "Hey, listen, there's a lot of stuff that's too ahead of its time. There's not enough regulation, and so
who might that advisor be?"
If only it was Lauren Fix.
No, it's probably Elon Musk. That's the thing.
But Elon's been pushing for autonomous technology for a while, and he's been saying for years, well, I've got a full self-driving car, and he doesn't, and we'll get into that.
Yes, because autopilot is a big conversation, and the government, which is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which is NHTSA, NHTSA, is seriously looking at him, and I wonder also, and this is something we can discuss, just because he's working with Doge and he's working with Trump, does that mean that they're suddenly going to overlook all of the deaths and the accidents from his autopilot program? We're going to discuss all of that in today's episode.
It's kind of a deep topic, and we're going to take it piece by piece because this is stuff that will directly affect the future of the automobile industry and what you are going to see on a daily basis. Because so a quick tangent is I was always hesitant whenever there's a new piece of technology that came out. We're probably going to see these cars everywhere. And then, within a year or two, it all of a sudden is everywhere. There's always a delay where people are hesitant to get the new thing. Right. And then all of a sudden it completely takes over the market.
Right.
With cars specifically, it's like, oh, I haven't seen the new insert whatever the new vehicle is.
And then forward collision warning or front cross traffic alert.
And then a year or two later, you're seeing it all over the place. That's why you can cut somebody off on the highway and their car brakes for them. And you go, thanks for the free pass. And you take off.
Well, that's not the idea behind it, though. So don't believe that's what they intended. Maybe that's what he's doing.
I'm not the intent, but you can do it. But the point is that a lot of new technology there, these companies are trying to push the limits of what they can do to give more value to the customer. And with our lives as busy as they are, as online as we are, as many things as there are to do during a day.
But driving is kind of an important thing.
Right, but that's kind of the point, is they're taking one annoyance, a chore, away from you, so you don't have to drive your appliance to work.
I don't want an appliance to drive. I love driving, and I'm not about to give it up. If I want to be driven, I will call an Uber. I will call a cab. I will get some other way to get there, or I'll say, hey, come pick me up. Otherwise, I prefer driving. I want to be in control of where I go and when I go. And there's been a lot of issues along that as well, and we can discuss that.
But we have joked for years that cars are becoming appliances, which is one of the reasons
why this cars are
happening in the first place. So you don't see it in our car reviews, which you can find over on Car Smarts.
Yeah.
We've moved everything. And a lot of the older ones are on this channel, but all of our newer ones are on Car Smarts. We don't call any commuter cars appliances, but they kind of are, because the people that are buying them just need to get from point A to point B, and they don't need to have the 5 million new options in the brand new Mercedes.
Right,
it's
very expensive.
A car.
Right.
So now that people are saying, okay, I I want a car. I'll pay extra for the autonomous features in the new Tesla because the Tesla Model 3 is fairly affordable.
The new Model Y is even more expensive.
Yeah.
There's a new Model 3 up. There's a lot of new updates to some of the trim models.
And then you add...
But it needed a facelift, seriously.
Yeah, actually, I think it looks a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
All these autonomous features are being added to all sorts of cars, not the base commuter cars, but the fancier cars, and some kind of mode that you can activate. And
active cruise control.
And we're at level 3 for most of them.
Nope, 2.
2?
Yeah, so let me explain the levels.
We sometimes get them mixed up because everybody likes to claim that they have a full self-driving car.
There's no such animal. That's legally available on the road today.
Yeah, so like, if you ever seen like the future movies, like not the Jetsons, he actually drove his own car, oddly enough.
Yeah. But he flew it.
Yeah, he flew his own car.
Whole other conversation we'll have at another time. Because there are cars that do fly, just you need a pilot's license.
But level 5 is no steering wheel, no pedals.
Nope. I'm out. That's an amusement ride.
It's a roller coaster ride, yeah.
No, because...
You might as well be in a train.
Yeah. That's a no-go for me. Now, you can do that, and there was a company called Canoo, which I believe is going out of business, CANOO. Well, it's great in concept, but in reality, level 5 is nothing. No steering wheels, no pedals. You get in a pod and you go places. That's what Elon Musk wants with the robotaxi, although he wants it so like a level 4 where there is still steering wheel and pedals. But
you don't need to have your hands or feet on the
devices. There's no one in the driver's seat. You just get in the vehicle.
Yeah, it has them as a backup.
Yeah, I'm not that trustworthy.
The level 3 is like...
that's Mercedes. Mercedes-Benz is the only one testing right now at level 3.
So can you explain for the audience the difference between... So level 1 is really basic.
Nothing.
Anti-lock brakes.
No, it's nothing.
No, it's...
Well,
okay. Sometimes...
0 is nothing.
0, nothing.
You're
okay.
Right.
So tell me that most people have some sort of electronic optimized driving experience.
ADAS, it's called.
Thank you.
ADAS, adaptive.
The word soup of acronyms for the automotive industry is really crazy.
3 and 4 letter acronyms. Yeah.
We could do a stand-up routine just on the acronyms.
For sure. Okay, so level 1, you'd be like lane departure warning. So someone's in your blind spot. We've seen this for a long time. You go to change lanes, you get a little light, and your mirror says, "Hey, there's someone there." Okay. Even Honda used to do it with Lane Watch, and then they stopped doing it. And now you've got more of a level 2, like with Hyundai and Kia and Genesis, where you put on your turn signal and you get a little camera.
They're assistive features. They're not doing anything for you. They just help.
But a lot of them won't let you change lanes. There's a lot of Nissan was one of the first to create a program that when you tried to change lanes, it would bump you back into the lane. And it would also be lane centering. We've seen that with Pro Drivers. There's a million names for it. But all of them are lane centering. That's a level 2. You can take your hands off the wheel. Even Blue Cruise, which just had a couple, they've got 3 deaths. There's 3 serious problems. There's a National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is looking into the 3 deaths or bad accidents.
And this is not like back in the 80s when Audi the Audis were crashing and people, I don't understand, but they were slamming on the throttle instead of the brake because they were both skinny pedals.
That's a whole other conversation.
No, this is the computer takes over and you have no control and something bad happens. This is technology in a dangerous place territory.
Right. So when you're talking about some of the technologies that center your vehicle, such as Blue Cruise or Super Cruise, which actually Super Cruise is pretty cool. It's probably one of the most advanced systems.
Autopilot kind of fits in there.
Well, let me separate autopilot. So when it comes to Super Cruise, they have over 750,000 miles across the globe. They've got all the major highways down.
It's very impressive.
They're working on secondary roads, which would be like 2-lane roads. They haven't got into private neighborhoods. But with Tesla, it's a different program. It does work. However, you still need to pay attention. And anytime you see someone who was in an accident, typically they were sleeping, eating, doing something on the list.
Yeah, they're on their phone. They have their hands off the steering wheel. They're not paying attention.
Something else is going on.
Which is kind of the whole differentiator between the lower levels and the higher levels. Is that you as the driver, and also legally speaking, you are driving the car. You're responsible for driving the car.
Yep.
And
your eyes have to be on the road.
Yes.
I mean, even with Super Cruise and Blue Cruise and all the rest of it, including autopilot, it does say when you sign your agreement and you buy your car or when you agree on your screen, it expects you to look forward. And that's when you're seeing a lot of these trackers that are just above on the steering column. There's these little like boxes. They're like this big and they're black. Or you may not see it at all.
Yeah, they're either cameras or infrared.
They're hiding it into the gauges, the gauge pod. And how do you know? You take your phone and you take a picture. When you look at the picture, you'll see 2 green dots or red or gray. You'll see some dots. Those 2 dots are tracking your eyes.
They're looking for a reflection, or they're tracking your eyes, like with a camera or one of the different technologies. But they used to do that for you driving, and then as more autonomous features came available, now if you take your eyes off the road while the automatic cruise control or whatever it's called, now it will deactivate. It was only in brand new cars. They just started this like 2 years ago.
The Volvo had a pretty advanced system.
Yeah, it'll shut off the cruise control or any of the autonomous features because they're saying, well, you're not paying attention.
Right.
You know,
and it warns you.
And the car's not going to drive for you. It's illegal. See, the companies are protecting themselves because they don't want to have a situation where if somebody, look, there's always a liability where Honda or Cadillac or whoever could get sued to high heaven because somebody did something wrong. They used the product in a way that wasn't advised by the company.
Right.
But a lawyer can always argue some way that they're liable.
Sandwich.
Right. So they're just trying to protect themselves, which makes sense.
Right.
Because, again, we're talking about you are still the driver. You are still responsible. It's your car. You're in the driver's seat. So you need to bear that responsibility. Well, that's why level 4 and 5 doesn't exist.
Well, level 3 is being tested right now. Level 3 is a Mercedes-Benz. All right, so what we did see with Infiniti, and I bet you that's on the Car Coach Reports channel. It's been a long time ago. Javier Mota and I were riding with a guy from Infiniti who showed us what happens if you don't follow the rules. So what he did is he wasn't paying attention. He purposely looked out the window. This is an engineer driving, and we had it in the, what they call their autonomous driving pro pilot, whatever. Everyone's got a silly different name.
You can't remember them all. It was up.
Anyway,
it was auto cruise control or whatever it was, right?
So the guy purposely didn't pay attention. He looked out the window, and the vehicle notified him, said, pay attention to the road, and he ignored that. And the car then put on the 4-ways and started slowing the car down.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it literally slowed it to a complete stop. My only concern about that is the people around you. If you're on a highway, maybe you had a heart attack, maybe you passed out, whatever it might be that you weren't able to do that. Yes, it's good that the vehicle slows down so it doesn't hurt someone.
VW's got that. They've been putting that in like ads. They're like, "Hey guys, we have this feature. It could save lives." And maybe it
could, but I worry about the other cars around you because you're driving on a highway at 55 and suddenly your 4-ways are on. People pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But then it starts slowing down on a highway and someone's going to come running up.
Well, thank God it doesn't slam on the brakes.
No, some of them do.
Well, again, Tesla will do that. I've seen that where Tesla
will engage brakes.
Look, this could happen to any car with like semi-autonomous features. Mm-hmm. It thinks there's something in front of the car and slams it.
Well, that's a whole different part.
During the winter, I had a little bit of snow on the front of my car, and my parking sensors were going crazy up to 20 miles an hour, and then they finally turned off.
And it says no active cruise control, no forward collision warning, no park assist, and you get all these notifications on your dash. And since I test drive multiple vehicles per week, when it's snowing here, because we're in Buffalo, a lot of times the snow will cover things up. And that can happen in a sandstorm if you live in super warm weather, and wherever you live in the world. It can happen with dirt, leaves, fill in the blank. And the cameras also need to see, as well as LiDAR and everything else. So what's interesting when you're talking about autopilot is it has a lot of capabilities. However, again, it's your responsibility. Now, you were talking about other types of technologies.
Yeah, and usually they're bundled together, which is kind of the point of like there is no level 3 because...
Available today on the road.
Available today on the road. Because really what it is it's a combination of like 20 different level 2 systems that work together to, you click one button and it activates a bunch of systems together. Mm-hmm. The car's not actually driving itself. It's just got cruise control and lane keep and lane watch and lane automatic braking mitigation and... and
it's all of them working together. Lots of computers.
So, and I think it's kind of an important distinction to say that if a car truly is driving itself, there is some singular program that takes over all controls. And so maybe it's a pedantic thing, right? Because technically,
explain what that is. Because
maybe I'm being too picky. Maybe it's really just at level 5, right? Which we know doesn't exist except for like in test and
Well, it does. You can use it in Disney has level 5.
It's a small world.
It's a small one. Well, actually, there's more things in that. They have cars and
Yeah,
and a lot of times you'll see it on university campuses. You can get into these pods. It'll take you to the next building.
In Vegas,
that's different. It's controlled environment.
Remember, we were at SEMA in Vegas, and
they had controlled pods.
They had a test bed. They had a test Tesla, and it was testing level 4 autonomy, where you sat in the back seat and it taxied you in an underground tunnel.
There's actually a person doing it now. There's a person.
Oh, they hired people.
They hired people and drivers. Yeah, it's hysterical. But I do want to tell you that.
Yeah, sorry. I was just to finish.
Okay, and then I want to add something.
Okay, I was just saying that even at level 5, when the car is fully driving itself, is it truly a singular autonomous system, or is it just a series of, at that point, maybe 100, 200, 300 different automatic different sensors and systems and programs layered on top of each other to equate to autonomous driving? And we're just being really picky by saying that level 3 doesn't exist because it's really just a conglomeration of level 2 systems.
I think that's a combination. You're talking about many processors. You're talking about multiple computers on. You're basically driving.
Well, there's already a dozen computers in your car today.
Well, there's more than that now. I mean, you're talking about this Mercedes-Benz that's being tested with level 3. Wow, you're looking at probably 200 processors. God forbid one of them fails, because your car's going to be in a shop for a long time. But let me just tell you how you can override this.
I have a question for you.
So the new Volvo XC90, very cool vehicle. The review is on the Car Smarts channel. It's just coming out. It's a really neat vehicle. It's all electric, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think the car is really well designed. If it had a range extender, they'd probably sell them all day long, which it might. We'll see. Lots of things. That's a whole other conversation for a future podcast. Oh, yeah. That's a future podcast. So make sure to subscribe. One of the things that I did is I have a pair of really cool sunglasses. Actually, you've got a similar pair that are mirrored and they happen to have like a blue mirror on them.
Oh, yeah.
So I put them on. I think I was riding with Al Vasquez, and I put them on, and it would not engage their autopilot, their self-driving sort of system.
Couldn't see your eyes.
It couldn't see my eyes. So I thought, that's weird.
Because the polarized.
So I took the glasses off thinking it would now see my eyes and had to reset itself. So we had to get out of the car.
Really?
Shut the vehicle off, reset because it thought, as a person sitting in the driver's seat, it couldn't see anything. So it wouldn't allow me to put that system on.
So it thought that nobody was in the car?
It thought that if I can't see your eyes, you're not going to get to use the service.
So you had to reset that's just bad design on the technology part.
Well, maybe it's for safety reasons. Remember, there's a liability involved.
But look,
but Al was able to make it work without glasses.
Even on my 2013 car, I have to turn the car off and reset it to get the system to rework sometimes. It's just...
That's a problem with computers, isn't it?
I complained. This is a problem with car computers. I've complained about this in the last 2 episodes of the podcast, that there's antiquated technology going into the baseline of these systems, and it's being layered with super advanced technology. So, I guess it kind of comes down to like your phone's acting weird, reset it.
Right. And that's what we all do. My phone's locking up. I'll text you 10 times. You didn't get my text. I'll shut off, restart it. Oh, everything works
But
fine.
At the same time, I don't remember the last time I've had to restart my computer.
It depends what programs you're using. I've had a couple issues.
I'm just saying.
Although I'm always traveling, so I'm on different Wi-Fi.
There's so many kinks they have to work out because, like I said, they're still working with years-old technology when the car comes out. It's not brand new. Like, this was developed last year or whatever, or 2 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, I have the older one.
And the cars, the 5-year-old computers, and maybe they were even a year old before that because, the company has to buy, hundreds of thousands of them to make all their cars. And okay, sorry.
So there's more to this autonomous than what we're just talking about.
It's many, many layers deep. So I want to, so you were talking about Mercedes level 3, and I haven't looked into this one yet. So what makes it so interesting at level 3? How is it not level 2?
Well, what it's giving you is the true ability to change lanes, which Super Cruise and Blue Cruise do. But it also gives you, it's picking up different information. So there are different kinds of LiDAR cameras. It's not as impacted by weather as some of the other cameras, but it also has the ability to look ahead. It takes information from the cloud, from weather stations, from traffic information. It could be from an Android service. It's taking all of it, and now it's merging in even in more data. And again, General Motors just had the Federal Trade Commission come after them for selling your data for Monstar. And people were peeved because it didn't get your permission. So they're collecting this data because you need this data to give you that autonomous drive or safety or...
And then they need to make money off the back end because that's where the money in data is.
Right, otherwise they're just selling you
your information. You watching this right now. If it's free, you are the product.
Yeah, that's true, because nothing in life is free. Nothing, not even love.
True. Definitely true. Okay, so it's level 3. So is it level 3 because it's taking the weather information?
It's taking a lot more data.
Is that why they're calling it level 3? Is just because it's a step more advanced than Super Cruise?
Well, Mercedes-Benz has been pretty forward doing this. A lot of other brands have done a really great job in the past. Nissan was pretty much a leader, but they're struggling financially right now.
Well,
we'll see what happens.
Well, now apparently Renault's out of the deal, so I really don't know what's going to happen.
And Mitsubishi might be out of the deal too. But again, we'll cover that as soon as we see how this unfolds.
We could do an entire podcast
so
just
check
on
out
Honda Nissan.
Check out the last podcast. Check out the Car Coach Reports channel. We cover the Honda Nissan merger. It's way too in depth to add into this, and it's also way off track.
Yes.
So staying on track, though, I think what's really important is to think about what kind of cars you're going to be getting in the future. Now, in 2007, and I've discussed this in the past, I was in an Audi. We drove from Palo Alto, California, to the Consumer Electronics Show. We reached the border of California and Nevada. We switched plates. We had engineers with us. It was very cool, and it worked on the highways. Later years, oh my gosh, I bet you this may be 2009. I was in a Volvo in Georgetown, which is outside of Washington, D.C., and we had an opportunity to get in cars, and we had to sit there with our arms crossed, and it drove. It was almost freaked out a bicyclist who would looked over and you're going to hit me because your hands aren't on the wheel, and that does create anxiety for passengers, for other cars, for bicyclists, pedestrians. So again, the reason is because it wants to collect. Right now, it's like level 4. Level 3 is collecting data on pedestrians and bicyclists and stuff, and it needs to know it's there. Tesla does some of it, not all of it, although it gives you the impression that it is truly self-driving. It's not. He sold it as autopilot, but it's really not. And he's got a lot of lawsuits that he's got to deal with. I wonder if those will go away under Trump. I hope not. Because if you're liable for something, you have to fix it or take care of whatever the problem is. But anyway, so as we move forward, I've driven and ridden in a lot of cars. And today's technology, in truth, works. The only way autonomous driving works the way it's designed to is if every single car on the road is autonomous. The problem is, I'm not getting rid of my car. And you're not getting rid of yours. And I have older cars as well, and I'm not getting rid of those. So there are 5 hurdles that need to be cleared in order for full autonomous cars to work. Number 1, government regulations. There's no rules in any country. You can test. They're testing in San Francisco. They're testing in Los Angeles. My favorite thing is what people do. They put a pylon on the roof.
I think it's so funny.
They'll take a piece of paper and throw it at the car. It hits the brake. It's not right. But we know people are stupid.
Oh yeah,
stupid.
No, well, because it's like it's not a person. It's just a machine.
Right.
It doesn't have any feelings. So if you mess with it, all you're doing is just having some fun. And you can. What was I saying? You could put a cone on
a pylon
on the hood.
Oh, it flips out. So
it doesn't know what to do. It thinks that it's going to hit something. It's already had a collision.
Yeah, but that happens in San Francisco. It happens in Phoenix. It happens in LA where they're testing all this. So yes, there are jerks out there, but there's always going to be jerks out there. Even if you and I go, I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. But there's always an idiot.
Yeah.
Who will cause that kind of, even if every car was autonomous. All right, so the government creates regulations that can be overcome.
Right.
Here are the regulations.
There are legal issues that are steeply involved, like we were saying.
Well, that opens up the other 5 items.
Right. So
the other 4.
Right. So the government regulations, which will be informed by the next couple things that we talk about.
Well, President Trump says he's going to fast track it because Elon Musk has his ear, and he proved in robotaxi when he did his little thing. But that was on an enclosed facility. On the street, there's animals, there's people, there's everything. And fill in the blank, potholes, things that occur that doesn't know. We've seen autonomous cars go through wet concrete, through construction zones, pass emergency vehicles, all kinds of stupid stuff. So that has to be sorted out before we all get into autonomous cars.
Maybe having some additional regulation. And I know we kind of harp on the government having too much regulation.
Well, in this case, there needs to be laws.
There needs to be some sort of framework, or at least a and this applies to like if you own a company and you process credit card payments, then there's PCI as a requirement. So essentially, this relates because the companies that use it encourage other companies that they work with to follow a set of standards to keep your information secure and make sure that you don't get hacked and whatnot, right? So there's not
that happens every day,
right? So there's not a government regulation, but instead there's a series of companies that all say, all right, we are all going to agree to the exact same standards. So you could do this for the automotive companies to say,
right,
let's design a set of standards for
that's what they need is a set of standards, maybe not laws or rules, but a set of standards.
But there's got to be
Here's
something.
the baseline, and there isn't anything now.
Well, because they haven't done it, and no association has done it, so
they don't want to do it.
Of course not. Because,
liability.
Again, it always comes back to the lawyers. It always comes back to the lawyers.
Yeah, right. And they're the only ones that make the money. So there's got
to be something. Right. And if an association is not going to be made, or if an alliance or whatever, nobody's doing it, so the government feels like they need to step in, and maybe that's the right move here because.
Well, I think to a point, I don't think we need like police. We don't. I guess you're going to have policing involved, right? NHTSA's going to have to be. The Department of Transportation's going to have to be involved.
Well, no,
with making sure that if you're going to sell this car to a customer, if you're going to make this part of an Uber, a Lyft, a robotaxi, or whatever, that you're all on the same page. Because right now, Waymo's doing something, and they're all over San Francisco and L.A. You got Uber doing something.
There's got to be some legal weight behind the decision making.
Right.
Because,
if they break the law, then what?
So before we get on to the other four pieces,
there's five of these little
there
things.
Was a study done at Stanford. I think it was Stanford. And I did the study. This was years ago. Okay, you're in an autonomous car, and you have this is like the train problem, right? You have your mother is on one track, and 5 people you don't know are on the other track, which you have to swerve out of the way of an obstacle, and you're going to hit one of them. Which one do you choose?
Yeah, do you hit the child who's chasing the ball across the street or the dog?
Exactly.
I mean, who's making this determination? It's the computer.
Well, you can't make that decision.
No, the computer makes it.
Also, now you get into a regulatory framework of, and also what policy are they going to choose as an individual company? Does the company say, well, it's going to sacrifice the driver? It's going to sacrifice somebody based on their social standing, like we're in China, right? Is it going to choose the least amount of monetary damage, like if you hit a building or something? Is it going to choose the least amount of people being hit? How does it know?
That's good.
And what regulation is going to be involved in order to say, what? This is a very complicated technology.
Yep.
And if your hands are off, the car has to make a decision for you.
But it's a computer. It's not a person. It's not someone in some data center going, oh, I think Paul's we won't hit him, but we'll hit that dog.
Yeah.
It's not at all like that. But the computer could make that decision based on who programs it.
And now
they could say, oh, you only make $20,000 a year, so we'll hit you versus the guy that makes $100,000 a year. Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe is it male versus female? Is it dog versus a person or another car? And you think, oh, that's not possible. But here's what happens a lot. A pedestrian's crossing the street. A lot of the new technology will stop the car because it sees something. It doesn't know what it is. It could be a woman pushing a baby carriage. It could be an animal. It could be a stick. It will know there's something there. So do you, as a person, make a decision? Do I want to hit the pedestrian? No. Am I going to go on the sidewalk? Sure, I will do that and not hurt somebody. I'll take that. I'll take the risk of driving this out with maybe getting a flat tire. But a computer may not think that way. And the thing is, much like ChatGPT or any of these other things, somebody's programming it.
Right.
And we don't know how it makes that decision. Is it taking in data by, your social credit score is low?
Which the chances of us having that
China.
here.
That's very China.
That's why I mentioned China, is because they could do something like that there. They won't do something like that here.
We hope not.
Too much pushback. But
just make sure to push back on that.
Exactly. So somebody's got to be liable for all that. Right. Or is it going to be the manufacturer?
You're just stepping right into number 2 really quickly, aren't you?
No,
he's leading us to number 2 reason. Go ahead.
Somebody's has to be liable for is it Bosch because they made the computer? Is it whoever made the
General Motors for the programming?
Is it Sony because they made the camera?
NVIDIA?
Is it NVIDIA because they
made the center screen?
Because it did the AI graphic processing? Is it GM because they made the car? Is it
the driver?
Is it the driver?
Who is the owner? Is it the owner of the car?
Okay, yeah.
Or is it the person in the passenger in the seat who may be potentially overrode it?
I drive your car and I hit a cat, and now I'm liable, or are you liable because you own the car?
Well, that happens in real life. I mean, if you hit somebody or something, and usually everybody's liable, and your insurance company covers that. And that is number 2. Perfect lead-in. Perfect lead-in. Thank you, Paul. The insurance companies don't like this at all. They're totally against autonomous cars, and the reason being, okay, car's in an accident. It's a fender bender. No one's hurt. Is it your fault? Is it my fault? You own that car. I own the other car. Is it the car manufacturer's fault? Is it the software? Is it the car company? And now you're opening up a whole bag of worms. And beyond that, let's say it's a total destruction of the car, the person walks away, who's going to pay out? Is it my fault because my car was autonomous, or wasn't? His was or wasn't? I mean, these are a lot of things, and you go, okay, well, that happens every day. But who insures the insurance company is the reinsurance company, and there's not many of them.
And sometimes they reinsure each other, which is hilarious.
Yeah, well, he's got a friend who works in that business. It's pretty wild. But the fact is, someone's going to pay out. Somebody is going to pay to rebuild the car and pay for the damage. Who is it?
Somebody's going to pay for the medical bills. Somebody's going to pay for the lawyers, right? But also...
The lawyers have their hands out all the time. We keep coming back to that. I'm sorry if you're a lawyer. My son-in-law is a business lawyer, but I get it.
Well, I mean, somebody has to be held responsible, and that's kind of the whole problem here, is that who's responsible when the car is driving itself?
That we don't know. That's number 2 reason that this has not.
And you guys can hash it out in the comments.
Oh, please do.
Actually,
I want the comments.
Actually, yeah. So I do want to hear two questions that you guys can talk about down below. You can talk about the train problem. I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts about
who gets hit.
How does a car determine what to hit? But also the liability. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about that. Who's held responsible? Because this is the question no one's been able to answer for years.
And if you work in this business, and a lot of you do, because I know that a lot of you are followers and subscribers, and I appreciate your support, work in the automotive industry, because that's what I've been doing my whole life, 30-some years. I love when you give me comments from the inside. Of course, I won't disclose who you are, but thank you very much. It's always good to get the insider. I get a lot of good info from you guys, and I appreciate it. So that is a huge problem.
You want number 3?
Okay, number 3 is a big factor. Are you ready for this? That's the whole thing. A lot of people are like, I don't want that.
People aren't even ready for EVs. Well, people weren't even ready for seatbelts when they came out.
Well, Volvo's the one who developed that. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. And what's interesting is if you look at technology, the cool stuff. Self-parking. You can have it park into a spot like Smart Park.
Park the car, Smart Park.
Smart Park, yeah. That's one of them. Ford is actually the first one to do perpendicular and parallel parking, both forward and...
And it's great. It works really well.
It works, but you know what it is? You got to check out this new car. I think I did that when the Lincoln came. Yeah. I made you sit in the passenger seat, and I go, check this out, hands off, and the car goes zip into the spot. I know how to parallel
And then
park.
You never use it ever again.
You never use it again. That was cool. I'm going to tell my friends. Yeah. But you never use it again. So it's great technology, but you can shut this stuff off. And a lot of times people buy things thinking it's cool, and they go, I don't need it. Like, I don't use active cruise control. I don't even like to use cruise control. And you can't use it when it's raining outside anyhow, because you're going to end up with hydroplaning, is you don't use it in the winter. So I just drive. If I'm driving the car, I'm going to drive it. A lot of people like cruise control. That's great. But for me, I'd just rather drive. I like to be engaged in the experience.
But it's not just you being in the car. Like you said about the bicyclist who is scared because your hands aren't on the wheel. There was a viral video going around where a guy's Tesla pulled out of the parking lot and came to pick him up at the front of whatever store he was at. Mm-hmm. And the car blew a stop sign and got pulled over by a cop.
Nobody in the car.
And it wouldn't stop for the cop.
Oh, that's even worse. The car is evading being arrested.
So the cop followed the car all the way until it stopped on its own.
Right.
And he was talking to the owner. And he goes, I don't understand what to do.
Well, see, that means you could avoid a ticket. Or you could get a pretty wicked ticket for not stopping.
Yeah.
not abiding by a police officer. He would have written him a pretty nasty.
Well, it was a malfunction of the computer system, and this is
someone could have gotten killed.
Is what we were just talking about. No,
right.
Well, hopefully it would have noticed if there was a person, but I think it recognized that it was in a parking lot and not on the road, because it's used for like parking garages can be really tight spaces, right?
That's what Smart Park is good for. Just it creeps out. It doesn't blast out, doesn't drive. And that's how Hyundai's smart about this. They don't allow you to hit the button and have it take off like a rocket ship. It will creep out of a spot so you can get
it goes up like a quarter of a mile an hour.
But that's what you need. It's just trying to get you out of a tight, because I've been in Spain where you've had to park underground. So in downtown Barcelona, and if you're from
the parking spots are like,
they're super tight, and you're going down these super tight.
You're like a sardine can.
Yeah, and it scooches in. And I was there with Paul Bryan, and we couldn't get in out of the car. So one of us got out, and it was like creep. And I'm the smaller one, so I had to like squeeze to get by the car. But they park in tight. That's just part of Europe.
Smaller cars.
Right. Well, actually, it was a Volvo again. We were in Barcelona. I forgot which one. But, yeah, we've got a lot of that on our channel. Also, I got robbed in Spain. You can check that out on my channel, Car Coach Reports. That was totally an interesting experience. But anyway, back to this.
Never find those glasses ever again.
No, don't get me started. Anyway, I'm still pissed about that.
I know.
But anyway, so that's one. So let's get to that's the 3 reasons right there. Number 4 is going to be hackers. This is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So German car companies have a consortium that they put together. And you're talking about like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Volkswagen Group, which encompasses Porsche, Volkswagen, Bentley, Audi. I'm missing some
Lamborghini, Ducati,
Fiat, Skoda. These are all European brands for those of you in the U.S. But it was a huge company, and they put all of their brains together to say, let's come up with a way to protect the data, the access to your car, the ability to use autonomous cars, especially since Mercedes-Benz is leading this effort, so that we can put you in a car safely and not have to worry about some moron hacking it. And that could be a problem. And it's happened. It's happened with Tesla. They've hacked a Jeep. This is years ago already. So if they did that years ago, yes, they put up firewalls. They're still hackable. And matter of fact, we just did a story about when you plug your car, an electric car, into a charging station, they were taking your credit card information.
Yep. So it works like a gas pump.
Right.
But
it's connected to the internet.
Yeah, because it okay.
That's
great example. We've mentioned this before.
Parts of the things you need to think about.
Rich rebuilds. He's on YouTube. He
very cool guy.
Teslas,
mm-hmm.
or he used to rebuild Teslas. At least I haven't checked out his channel lately. But when he did, he repaired Teslas without Tesla's permission, and they cut off his access to the charging.
Right.
So that means that every time he plugs in, it's not like when you just plug your phone in to charge in the wall.
It's just electricity.
How does it know that your phone? I mean, your phone knows it's plugged in,
right?
But the outlet doesn't know that
it's an iPhone.
It just knows it's powered.
Mm-hmm.
But car chargers don't work like that.
Right.
Your car knows it's plugged in, and the charger knows that the car is plugged in, and it knows which car is plugged in,
and who it is,
and
what credit card.
And all of that information then gets fed back up to the server, and it processes all sorts of
Not just Tesla. This is all electric or plug-in cars.
Yeah. So it started with Tesla, but obviously everybody, because it started with the superchargers.
Now everyone can use Tesla.
Everybody can. Yeah. So you open that up, but because everybody needs to be able to charge that way, if there's even a charger available.
Right. Not where we live, but yeah.
Right. So imagine the vulnerability there. And now also let's talk about your computer, your phone, how easy it is to get hacked. How often are we hearing about hackers? And they're not always malicious. It's not like anonymous back 10, 15 years ago.
Wow. I haven't heard that in a long time. Is that person still around under the name Anonymous?
It was a group.
Oh, was it?
And they apparently dissolved, and I think that they reformed.
I don't know. There's a lot of hackers out there that are paid by companies to say, beat the system. Now, don't tell me that they aren't doing that anymore, because I know some of you will comment on that.
No.
They've already broken in. Recently, they said that they got into Trump's phones. They said they've got into the Judiciary Department, the IRS.
It only takes one access.
And then
one person.
It's full access.
So I think I sent you a video. There was a guy that hacked. It was intentional, and he wasn't malicious. He was doing it for fun. He hacked Subaru. He got one employee's information, logged into their system. He had super admin access, was able to track every Subaru in the country.
Whoa.
And tracked his mother's car for a month. everywhere that she went, how much fuel she used, how fast she was going.
That's privacy issues. That's data issues. I mean, you're talking about
what connectors were hooked up to her car.
Did he get arrested?
No. He did it as an experiment and then sent the information to Subaru so they could patch the hole.
Right, but then there's another hole probably because there's
always another hole.
Right, and that's the problem. So until this system is 100% secure, autonomous cars don't make sense. That is a huge factor. There's one other bigger factor. That's the fifth one. But this is a huge factor because until they, like I said, how would there be 100% security? They can't even do it with the government, with the military.
There's no such thing as 100% security.
Right.
And I mean, this can get into like the privacy and security conversation if you guys are into that at all.
We covered that too.
A lot of people say there's no such thing as privacy. There's no such thing as security.
Well,
and that's
these things are always listening. So there is, even if it's off, it's probably listening. And did Apple just get in trouble for those stupid AirPods? You have a HomePod. I gave him mine because I won't use it, and I have no Alexas in my house. Still listens.
When you have the Siri activation code, which I'm not going to say, so don't turn on your devices.
You're right. The SIRI.
It's always and also the
or Hey
Amazon's and Google's. When you have the Hey or Hi or whatever, it's listening all the time for the activation code. So it's logging audio so that it can differentiate your voice and it knows when you say a word. And so it's logging all that information, sending it up to the cloud so that it can analyze, right? And it sounds innocent because you want that technology to
assist.
You want it to assist. And so it has to gather data and learn in order to become a better product. But at the same time, a lot of that's not secure.
Well, there's no such thing as privacy anymore.
So a lot of people say that.
That's really concerning.
But the problem is that nobody cares about privacy anymore because...
Well, it depends who you are. I bet you some of you care.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the companies, like you install Facebook Messenger, not Facebook, the app you scroll, Facebook Messenger on your phone, and it pings everything on your phone. It knows every app that you have.
Sounds like TikTok.
It knows every phone that's connected to the same Wi-Fi, every other device. It logs all their IP addresses and their MAC addresses. So the idea is that it's trying to become a better product by saying like, oh, you're local, and
is that what Zuckerberg said?
Send information faster.
This is what Zuckerberg trying to make it a better product.
Well, it's
translation. We're selling your data to the government. Anyone else who wants to pay for it.
Yeah, and it's not like when we talk about like obviously Elon Musk is responsible for Tesla, but he's not the one doing the coding and making the signals in the same way that like Zuckerberg's not the guy who's doing.
Well, he's the evil mind behind it. As he removes me from Facebook.
Could be. Yeah. Well, we do have some controversial opinions in the car world, at least.
Yeah.
So,
but we're telling the truth.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
That's what we're trying to get to.
No matter what you think, I'm always going to tell you the truth. And if it costs me a Facebook page, then so be it.
Yeah. So, with all these concerns, and cars being noticeably less secure than your phone or computer or whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine. Well, we've heard Kia's getting hacked, Jeep's getting hacked.
Everybody else. I got hacked. Like I said, in Spain, we got robbed. Somebody had a device, and it wasn't anything huge. It was like I bought it on Amazon for $39.
You can get that. They're like cycle. They're a code cycle. Yeah, you just click the button and it cycles.
We hit the lock on the car, and you can check the whole video.
Yeah, they'll wait for you to lock the car, and then they'll scan. They scan, and they grab it.
And it was seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe you guys have seen the videos of thieves going up to someone's house, and they have like what looks like a listening device. It's got like a dish, and they'll bring it up to the door, hit the button, they'll scan the car code, and they'll just scan every device that's sending out a signal in your house.
Which is any key fob for any car,
any remote for a TV, whatever. They
don't care. For your garage door,
and then they hold the receiver with the connected receiver on the other end to the car door, so it's a near field connection, and they're trying to just unlock the door without turning on everything in your house. Too. And that's what they'll do. They'll turn it on, they'll start the car, and they'll drive away with it because you don't need to have the key in the car to continue driving, just to start it.
Right, and
which is still a security issue.
You're
but it's also a security issue for it to constantly check that the key is in the car.
All right.
There's no winning.
Yes.
So there needs to be a serious step in the direction of privacy and security in order for these companies to say that you as the consumer, as the owner of the car, is not a vulnerable actor in this situation.
So I do want to add something, and they're not paying me, but I happen to have purchased one. There's a company called SLNT, which is the word silent without the vowels. they have the Faraday bags, and I take all my key fobs, including for the journalist cars, including for my remote control. And when I come in the house, I toss it in the Faraday bag, because otherwise, every single key fob is constantly looking for you to hit the remote. It's connected to the car. That's why there's batteries in them. And when you hit the unlock or the car start, it does it for you.
Yeah.
So even my older cars, I toss all the keys in a Faraday bag. And I know, oh, you're crazy. Yeah, because it's happened where they go by and they can open your garage door, take your car, because once you're in your garage, I'm right next to where do you put your keys? In the kitchen when you first walk in the door, or wherever you access your house, they can grab it and your car is gone like that and you'll never see it again.
Well, but
they ship them overseas.
But I want my welcome lights. I want to be able to walk up to the car.
Oh, the key fob
and the car automatically notices that my key fob's nearby.
Well, you can do that.
In order to get these convenient options.
Yeah, but you just take it out of the Faraday bag when you go to your car, and you put it in your pocket like everybody would do, and then it'll know you're there.
But I'm saying
because it has a proximity key.
I'm saying that's the reason why it's vulnerable.
Right.
Because if it's always connected, the car is always searching for a signal. It's
right.
So that's how the battery in your key fob lasts so long, because it's not sending. It's only sends signal. It does
proximity.
Yeah. So, but your car is always looking, which is why now there's cars, they get bigger batteries, double batteries, they're hybrids. They pull off
the batteries are
huge. Batteries.
Yeah,
they're huge. So they are always looking for the key. When you walk up with the key and the lights turn on and
it welcomes you.
Yeah, the car automatically, on a
like
timer.
The Lucid was pretty wild.
The seats.
Remember the Lucid?
Yeah.
All right, now let's get to number 5.
All this convenience equals security concerns.
Right. You can't give up security and have safety because it doesn't work. So let's get to number 5. The big one. Weather. That is a factor that you can't control. So whether you live in the Middle East, and I just talked to a group of people in the Middle East, they have sandstorms. When sandstorms happen, you can't even see, let alone any of those safety features working. We live in the upper half of the country, anywhere in the upper half of the country. I was just in Steamboat Springs testing tires for Bridgestone. It was unbelievably cold and it was snowing. So you were in a complete whiteout conditions at times. There's nowhere you can't see. How is a car going to see? It isn't. So and think, okay, well, I don't live in either of those conditions. Fine, you have rain. Everybody has rain. I don't care if you're in the desert. You've got sandstorms. You've got windstorms. You've got all kinds of things. So weather in general is that data goes into these cars, and that is a big problem. Now, yes, I know we can go into the hose. Let me put on my tinfoil hat. Weather manipulation, and there is a company called the Weather Manipulation Company. So I know it exists. Been happening since the 1800s, but they're not going to be able to manipulate your private area every time you get in the car. So that's the reality of it. So because of that, weather is a factor that can't be overcome. And they've been testing with Ford for over a decade in the winter, in the snow, with things like it's all in an enclosed campus. I've actually been to the campus where they'll have a woman walking with a stroller. It's not, it's more of it's not a real person.
No, it's like a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, it's like a cardboard cutout.
Or a doll
or something like that. And it'll try to see if the newest, coolest technology can see it. It can't if it's covered. Mm-hmm. And it happens with leaves, with snow, with ice, with dirt, with fill in the blank.
Even just too much rain.
Right, too much rain. And I've told this story on the last podcast.
So maybe a camera or a LiDAR sensor can see better than you can in certain environments. But I mean, I was in Texas during a rainstorm, and I could not see the car in front of me,
Florida,
except for these tiny little dots of red through the insane amounts of rain. And I'm like, okay, there is a car in front of me. I just can't see them. So maybe the camera would be able to see worse than that, but maybe a LiDAR sensor would be able to see better than that. Look.
Plus, of course, you've got traffic which comes from Android phones because they use it whenever you look at your center screen and you see traffic and you're like, there's no congestion here, but it's taking information from all the Android phones and it uses it in the center screens, a lot of especially Google-based center screens. But you can get whatever the Apple.
Yes, your cars run on an Android technology most of the time.
Where the Apple Maps does that, Waze does that because it's Google.
And a lot of them, I'm sure that they're somewhat working together to a certain degree.
Sure.
I mean,
data.
Yeah, exactly. They're all selling data to each other because they want to make the best product possible. So why not?
Right. And you can get weather from the National Weather, NOAA, National Weather. But the problem with that is we've all been in situations where you go, it's going to be a beautiful day today. And you get in your car and you start driving and suddenly you're in a snowstorm or a rainstorm or it's hailing or whatever. Obviously, it's the only job you could be wrong every day and not get fired. Working for the Weather Channel. I have a lot of friends at the Weather Channel. I'm their automotive expert as well as for Fox Weather. And we constantly are talking about unexpected weather conditions, whether it be flooding or whatever. And all that data is coming in and they can try and report to you as quickly as possible. And a lot of it's speculation. So you get in your car, you want to go to work, and they go, I'm sorry, we are unable to get the vehicle started due to weather conditions. I need to get there's a million scenarios. Much like the kill switches.
The car's too cold.
Yeah.
There's too much snow and it knows it can't drive.
Right.
Who knows?
So all these factors
However they're going to set
when
it.
you need to be somewhere, fill in the blank, the hospital, the airport, whatever. So just recently in Los Angeles, someone ordered a Waymo. They got in the vehicle. They started going to the airport. They got on LAX airport, one of the biggest airports in the world, and it wouldn't stop. It just kept going around and around for over an hour, and the guy missed his flight, and he couldn't figure out how to get out of the Waymo. He's hitting cancel, emergency, everything. He was very panicked because it just kept going around because it couldn't get the vehicle to the curb where it needed to be at his airline. And there was like six or eight terminals, I forgot. But there's a lot of terminals, so we'll just keep driving around because it can't just stop and let you out in the middle of traffic. That'd be unsafe.
I'm surprised he couldn't open the door and it would do
no,
that
it's blocked.
Of course it is.
Why would it let you get out of the car? It's unsafe. You're going to bail out of a car that's moving, you'll get hurt.
True.
And your luggage is in the back too. So that would be a bigger problem. He was trying to get out of here.
We're talking about, malfunctions, which...
Well, it wasn't a malfunction. It was part of the programming. It wouldn't stop in an unsafe area. It felt, I need to stop at the curb. I'm not going to stop the third lane out with moving traffic where we know that everybody does that at big airports.
So then maybe the tech is too strict. Maybe...
But if it's too lax, then you have a liability issue. Back to number 2.
Right. And then you have to... You as a
what's
developer,
the law number 1, right?
So you as a developer then has to consider every variable, which is almost impossible. And that's
there's always going to be a variable.
And that's why they're implementing AI to try to learn. And I'm so positive that if you buy a new vehicle from the last couple of years and they are covered in sensors and cameras and everything,
you can't even get out of the passenger side.
I'm 99% positive that they're collecting all that information. And then when you park the car for the night, it sends it up to their cloud. Because your car's already connected. If you have a new car, it's connected. Even if it's at a base level, it's at least sending something like how many miles you drove back to the.
Oh, it knows where you go, when you went there. If you're charging, it knows about that.
Yeah.
The gas station, if you go and pump your own fuel, well, it knows that because your credit card, most likely, unless you pay cash.
So maybe these systems are developing some sort of AI.
Well, sure, there's a lot of AI
saying oh, I know how people drive. They will double park. Maybe the autonomous cars will learn to double park.
I don't think it would, because the risk of someone getting out in oncoming traffic and getting injured, there's a lawsuit.
You imagine a notification do you want to double park? Warning, you are personally liable. I'm saying there are ways.
Everyone will say, yes, sure, I'm personally liable, but they don't. They're going to ignore it. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I didn't read it. I just clicked yes.
Nobody reads the small print.
You expect me to read 200 pages?
Well, this is
Steve Jobs can have my kidney?
He's not alive.
No, but they put that in the Apple. They put that in the Apple terms of service.
Does it?
Yeah, that's real.
Really?
Yeah, somebody put that in the Apple terms of service that if Steve Jobs needed a kidney, that he would randomly choose an Apple subscribe. Yes, and it was a joke.
That's not a joke.
And then signed them. And somebody found it.
Of course they did.
And they were like, I'm just curious what the TOS says, and they went through the whole thing.
What is TOS?
Terms of service.
Terms of service.
So they went through the whole thing. And they were like, hey, this is real. Other people found out it was real. It got back to Apple. And they went to their lawyers immediately. They're like, you need to take this out and immediately push an update. Because every time there's an update to the terms of service, you get an email. And you have to accept every time there's a change.
Have you ever read any of that stuff?
Yeah.
All of it, including the teeny weeny print?
I don't have time for that.
Okay. This is the problem. What the big print giveth, the small print taketh away.
Thank you.
Yes, and I actually stole that from Steve Ford, my old...
I was going to say, you haven't been saying that for
I've been saying it for a long time. But and that's been true for years. I used to be on a TV show for the DIY Network, and my co-host Steve Ford used to say that all the time. And that was
He's right.
That was quite a while ago, but it's true because when you read anything, even the small print on the San Pellegrino, I don't know, can't even read it. And no, they're not sponsoring us, but thank you for the good tasting.
We need
water.
like a drink sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
San Pellegrino Monster.
We'll take anyone. Hey, Chris Williams, say your drink looks pretty good. I'll let you reach out to us.
Yeah. But anyway, as far as all these factors, and this is sort of the bottom line that you need to think about before you are willing to get into an autonomous car. You're not reading anything. You're agreeing to an Uber pickup or a Waymo pickup or any autonomous car until there are rules, regulations, insurance, firewalls to protect you.
There's no insurance. Well, we didn't even talk about that.
Well, we did. It was number 2.
Well, I guess, the liability, but there's no insurance.
Right. That there's a lot of factors involved. And these are things to think about and to prove to you what happens in reality, in real life. Henry Payne is a friend of mine who works for the Detroit News, decided that he wanted to try an autonomous car. I forgot if it was a Waymo or an Uber. I think it was an Uber. And he got in it. He was in L.A. for the auto show a couple of years ago, and it hasn't changed because he keeps trying it, and it still does the same thing. He gets in the vehicle. Everything's fine. He's going to his destination. He picks like a coffee shop or something just to see how it works, and then he goes back. He got in it. It started going, and it started raining. That happens. There was no notification. Notification on the dash said, the vehicle pulled over, put on the four-way, said, a manned Uber is coming to pick you up. So when it pulls up next to you, the four ways are shut off. The doors unlock at that point because you can't just get out and walk away because you're paying for this service. You already agreed to the service and the rules that no one reads the small print. And he got into the manned vehicle and the guy took him to where he wanted to. And the guy who is in the manned vehicle knew it. He goes, yeah, this happens. These things don't work when it's raining.
Yes.
So how are we going to rely on this
must have been
with a robotaxi?
I can imagine that was a liability issue.
Oh, I'm sure. And that's why they don't want to take the risk of a huge lawsuit. They'll be out of business. And if one of them goes out of business, the rest of them will go with it.
I mean, there already have been lawsuits.
Sure.
There was a woman that got
one
killed
going up
by
right
Waymo.
now.
This was years ago now.
Oh, God.
She was crossing the street. She got hit by the Waymo.
Was it a Waymo or was it an Uber?
No, it could have been.
It was a Volvo. I remember that. Maybe it wasn't. It was probably a Waymo.
Jaguar's testing some autonomous stuff.
Jaguar's using Waymo. All those I-Paces, all those electric SUVs that I wish had range extenders in them because I thought they were.
They're all gone now.
Well, they will be because we talked about in episode 2.
Type 00.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm getting some more information on that, and as it becomes available, we will do an episode on
I'm
that.
not excited.
Well, because I raced a Jaguar with a Ford engine back when Ford owned Jaguar. Yeah. I'm going to have to make it a Mustang.
We have a friend with an E-Type, and he just got an F-Type, and he loves it, and he says, I'm never buying Jaguar ever again.
Yep.
There you go.
So, they don't, as I've been told, we don't want our current customers. But that's all covered under episode 2.
Yeah.
What we wanted to cover today was specifically autonomous cars. We tried to stay on task for you.
I think we kind of hit all the major points.
So the major 5 factors are huge hurdles that need to be overcome. Some of them can be. Others of them I don't know, but the whole idea is we wanted to discuss this more in depth than just my usual 3 days a week videos that come out that cover certain subjects. There's a lot of great content coming. We have a lot of information, more car information coming out now than ever. We talked about the increased prices of insurance. You can check that out on our current review because of the LA fires. We've covered the FTC and their attack on General Motors. Very interesting. And this part of that has to do with autonomous cars. But we cover a lot of different subjects. All the car reviews live on Car Smarts. All of the news and stories on our podcasts are here on Car Coach Reports. You can also get all that on our website, which is in English as well as in Spanish. And, of course, we're on all the social medias, at Lauren Fix, at Car Smarts. And you're at?
I'm at PaulFix3. All the links are down below.
Right. And I'm at Lauren Fix. I'm easy to find. And if you'd like to support our channel, you can buy me a cup of coffee or link us to a drink sponsor. But we do appreciate your support. We appreciate your likes, your subscriptions, and your supers. We do appreciate those as well.
Yep. Tell us down below what you think about everything that we've talked about.
And what you want us to talk about.
Give us your hot takes. Give us your cold takes.
Yes, we do appreciate constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Yes,
we get the conversation going down below.
Yep.
And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks so much.